I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.
Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello and welcome to the first show of the new year. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that I'm forever grateful. I'm also forever grateful to a wonderful medical team here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, that has overseen some of the issues that I've been dealing with, as well as other family members, which is what stopped us from kicking off on the second, our first show of the year. I'm doing a whole lot better, and so is the rest of my family. So for all of you that sent thoughts and prayers, thank you very much. It is definitely appreciated. Hope you all had a wonderful new year, whatever you were doing, and I hope that you were safe and that your family as well. I've been saying right here on this show for the past several years now that Democrats need to be careful what they wish for with the investigations of Trump, Republicans, and conservatives. I've warned that the day will come that Republicans will take back control of the House, and with it, they will have investigative authority, subpoena powers, and they will return the favor. Well, that day has arrived. The Republicans have the ball in their court, and they plan to give the Democrats a taste of their own medicine. History is bound to repeat itself if you learn nothing from it. And it appears that the Democrats have learned absolutely nothing from what's happened in our past. When it comes from anything dealing with Confederate monuments and statues to what happens in the halls of Congress when you're in power and the other party's not, when the day comes that flips. And boy, has that day ever come. Tonight's lead story: hypocrisy in the two-tier justice system in America, one for Democrats and the other for Republicans. Classified material from when President Joe Biden was vice president was found in one of his private offices this past November, and that was kept hush-hush because midterms were coming up. Less than 3 months after a political firestorm erupted from an FBI raid for classified documents kept by former President Donald Trump at his Mar-a-Lago home. The ongoing investigation to the documents found that Biden's office was first revealed on Tuesday by CBS News. The matter is now a Justice Department investigation led by John Lurch Jr., the U.S. Attorney in Chicago, CNN reported. And I'm very happy that CNN is actually going to run with this story and keep their liberal and Democrat listeners in the loop on the absolute batshit craziness that's happening and continues to happen, not just in the Democrat Party, but it also happens from time to time in the Republican Party too. And we, the people, must see to it that they're held accountable for their actions. In a statement, White House lawyer Richard Sauber said Biden's personal attorneys were packing up his office at the Penn Biden Center for Democracy and Global Engagement in Washington, D.C. back on November 2nd, when they discovered a small number of documents with classified markings. Now, I personally would like to know when they actually found those documents. Just so happens that it was on the 2nd of November. Dating back to the Obama administration. They were in a closet, CNN reported. Including among the materials were top secret files designated as sensitive compartmental information, a label used for highly sensitive information provided by intelligence sources, according to CNN. And of course, all the news media is running with this story right now, to include MSNBC, who's trying to make excuses for it and how it's, has nothing to do with what Trump did. Oh, no, not at all. The White House Counsel Office notified the National Archives on the day of the discovery, and the archives took the material the next morning, supposedly. The National Archives determined the documents were there by mistake due to a lack of safeguards. Oh, how coincidence. Still, the archives referred the matter to the Department of Justice and no further comment. The office was located at a think tank named for Biden that was established back in 2018. Biden periodically used the space from mid-2017 until the start of the 2020 campaign. Biden ignored questions about the documents shouted by reporters yesterday evening during a summit in Mexico. Attorney General Merrick Garland, head of the Justice Department, who launched the Trump investigation into the classified documents, was seated right next to the president when the reporter shouted the question that went unanswered. Biden previously tried to dismiss the Trump-appointed attorney now investigating him, but reversed that decision after both Illinois senators insisted he allow Lodge to conclude sensitive investigations, as reported by WTTW. Biden said, "People know I take classified documents and classified information seriously. I was briefed about the discovery and surprised to learn that there were any government records taken to my office." Of course you were. But I don't know what's in the documents. My lawyers have not suggested I ask what the documents were. Oh my God. And see, here's the thing. How long were they there? They were taken there when he was vice president, or after he left the vice presidency. Okay. So they could have been there anywhere between 2017 and 2020 when he started his campaign. But we know they were at least stayed there up until recently in 2023. So for years, at a minimum, that set of documents were in that closet. Biden previously tried to dismiss the Trump-appointed attorney now investigating him, but reversed that decision. You know, be careful what you wish for. Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith recently took over the investigation into hundreds of classified documents from former President Donald Trump's term that he kept at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. High-profile FBI raid to recover the documents set off a partisan controversy ahead of the Trump launching his third presidential campaign. So, when is the FBI going to raid Joe Biden's home? He owns several. When will they raid the White House and look for documents from the Obama era in Joe Biden's possession? Bottom line, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. CNN is reporting tonight, among the items from Joe Biden's time as vice president discovered in the private office, there were 10 classified documents, including U.S. intelligence memos and briefing material that covered topics including Ukraine, Iran, and the United Kingdom. Attorney General Merrick Garland has received a preliminary report of the documents inquiry and now faces the critical decision on how to proceed, including whether to open a full-blown criminal investigation like he did with Trump. And how many of you know the answer to that question? John Loesch Jr., U.S. Attorney in Chicago, has briefed Garland multiple times. No additional briefings are scheduled, but would be conducted if necessary. Classified documents were dated between 2013 and 2016. They were found in 3 or 4 boxes, also containing unclassified papers that fall under the Presidential Records Act. The vast majority of the items in the office contain personal Biden family documents, including materials about Beau Biden's funeral arrangements and condolence letters, CNN reported. It is not clear if the boxes with classified documents contain personal material, such as with Trump's situation, with medical records, which they took, and family photos, which the FBI took. Attorney General Merrick Garland has assigned the U.S. Attorney in Chicago who is a holdover from the Trump administration to investigate the matter, CNN reported. Garland made this move after receiving a referral from the National Archives and Records Administration. So the National Archives has recommended that the Department of Justice investigate this, just like they did with Trump. And we are about to see our justice system on full display, the laughing stock that it is. You know, take a moment here. You know the show The View, right, with Whoopi Goldberg? They were crying like a bunch of little bitches today over, oh my gosh, this is now going to destroy the case against Trump. You know, oh, this is going to be it. It's over with. They can't, who knows? But I guarantee you, this will not be handled the same way it's being handled with Donald J. Trump. The documents were discovered on November 2nd, just 6 days before the midterm elections, but the matter only became public yesterday due to news reports because they suppressed it, just like they did the Hunter Biden laptop story. That means Garland now must decide how to proceed. Garland was also personally involved in some of the key decisions making related to Trump document investigation and the decision to send the FBI to search Mar-a-Lago. So let me get this right. I'm sure that right now, or maybe they're going to wait till in the morning. Maybe they won't do it tonight. Maybe the FBI is gearing up their tactical teams of all their guns and weapons and all their shields to bust into Joe Biden's other homes and search them for classified material. Or maybe they're going to do the same thing at the White House tomorrow morning. Don't hold your breath. In the Trump matter, Garland tapped Special Counsel Jack Smith to take over both the criminal investigation of Trump's post-2020 election activities and the inquiry to classified documents that former president had taken to his Florida home. The Biden probe is nowhere near that stage yet, nor will it get there, trust me. And it may never will be. May never be. Garland chose to have Loesch conduct the Biden documents investigation because he is one of 2 remaining Trump-appointed U.S. attorneys, and to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest because he wasn't appointed by Biden, people briefed on the matter said. Now, I give Garland that much, but I'm sure he had a conversation with this guy in advance. At this point, the source says, Loesch is not expected to undertake additional fact gathering. At an awkward moment on Monday, Garland was sitting alongside Biden at a diplomatic summit in Mexico while reporters shouted questions about the probe. Both men ignored the questions. The turn of events with classified documents found at Biden's former office has forced some politicians into a tough spot. Trump has responded in a spat of social media posts lampooning Biden and public egging of the FBI to search Biden's offices and even the White House for mishandled documents. Key Democrats on Capitol Hill have expressed confidence in Biden's handling of government material, even though classified records turned up in a place where they weren't supposed to be, reported CNN. Newly empowered House Republicans have already pledged to broaden their oversight probes to include the Biden document matter, and some are eyeing the National Archives as a target of additional scrutiny. Today, the new GOP chair of the House Intelligence Committee asked the Director of National Intelligence to conduct a damage assessment from the classified records found at Biden's private office. Those entrusted with access to classified information have a duty and an obligation to protect it. Representative Mike Turner of Ohio wrote, "The issue demands a full and thorough review." Of course it does, but not for Biden because he's a Democrat, and we know there's nothing hiding here. We watch it all over our TV, all over the internet, that there's a two-tier justice system, and they don't treat Republicans and Democrats the same. Just face it. That's what we're dealing with here. So just remind everyone where we're at right now. You ready for this? It's pretty simple. The Democrat-appointed Department of Justice and FBI refused to prosecute Hillary Clinton for her abuse of classified documents and information when she had a private unsecured computer server in a basement located in a freaking grocery store. The purpose was to hide what she was doing in emails. They refused to prosecute her for deleting over 33,000 government-related emails, even after congressional hearing was held and she was subpoenaed, those documents were subpoenaed, and to be turned over to the investigators. They refused to prosecute her for physically destroying government cell phones and computer hard drives so that information within them could not be recovered. You've all heard the term bleach bit, affiliated with Hillary Clinton, because that's what they used to destroy those documents inside those devices. And now we have Joe Biden doing the exact same thing that Hillary and supposedly Trump did. Hillary got away with the crime, and I assure you tonight, so will Joe Biden, as they continue down the path of destroying Donald J. Trump any and every possible way that they can, because that's the hypocrites that they are. Joe Biden once defended the practice of taking home classified documents in some circumstances last summer. Biden made the comments while speaking to reporters on the South Lawn at the White House back in August, saying he planned to take home some classified documents that very day. Now the Justice Department investigation of a collection of classified documents found at the Biden-affiliated think tank, dated to this time as a vice president. It is never appropriate for a president to classify top-secret documents. A reporter asked him on August 26, depending on the circumstances. For example, I have in my home a cordoned-off space that is completely secure. I'm taking home with me today's presidential daily brief. I have a person with me, military with me. I read it, I lock it up and give it back to the military. What about without a specialized area to read classified documents? Is it ever appropriate to bring home documents? A reporter pressed. It depends on the documents and it depends on how secure, Biden responded. Biden's comments came months before a collection of documents were discovered in his office. Under the Biden administration, Department of Justice and National Archives have made compliance with the Presidential Records Act a top priority. Representative James Comer, Republican Kentucky, the chairman for the House Oversight Committee, said in a statement yesterday, "We expect the same treatment of President Biden, who has apparently inappropriately maintained classified documents in an insecure setting for several years." You know, there are some things you just couldn't make up if you frickin' tried. Republicans in the House of Representatives have laid out some of their plans after taking the majority in the House, including the formation of a new subcommittee to investigate the potentialization, weaponization of federal government agencies. The new panel is tentatively called the Select Committee on the Weaponization of Federal Government and would be an investigative panel of the House Judiciary Committee. The new panel was outlined in a Republican draft set for rules for the House in the new session of Congress. The push for the new subcommittee comes after recent batches of Twitter files have detailed the FBI primed Twitter to view potential incriminating revelations about President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, as hostile hack and leak foreign influence operation. Republicans and conservatives have raised issue with several other Biden-era moves, such as federal involvement in response to local school board meetings. A member of the Biden administration reportedly requested the National School Boards Association send a controversial letter to Biden's Department of Justice that linked parents protesting at school board meetings to be labeled as terrorist. The formation of the Department of Homeland Security panel to police disinformation also drew criticism over accusations that it formed as a pretext to suppress constitutionally protected free speech. Representative Kevin McCarthy, Republican, California, supported an addition of his new investigation panel in the rules draft in an effort to win over lawmakers in his own party who opposed his bid to become the next Speaker of the House. Republicans have been eyeing the formation of this secret subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government, along with investigations into whether Biden is compromised through influence peddling by his own family members. If Republicans can implement the new House rules, the new congressional subcommittee could follow a similar model as the United States Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities, often referred to as Church Committee. The so-called Church Committee, which formed in 1975, investigates allegations of abuse by the CIA, NSA, FBI, and the IRS. The committee detailed the FBI's illegal surveillance and infiltration of American political and civil rights organizations through an effort known as COUNTERTELPRO, as well as CIA Maine-controlled experiments on U.S. citizens through Operation MKULTRA, M-K-U-L-T-R-A, MKULTRA. Representative Paul Gusher, Republican, Arizona, called the top U.S. military officer, Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley, a traitor, adding that House Republicans will investigate his treasonous sellout to China and coup attempt around the January 6th Capitol storming. Remember, we will conduct a real investigation into J6. The effort to attempt a coup between traitor General Mark Milley and Pelosi will be reviewed and exposed, he tweeted on Saturday. Milley's treasonous sellout to China will be investigated. Pelosi not warning members about intel of impending violence will be exposed, he added. Soon we'll know the truth. He's one of 21 Republican representatives who for days held up the election of Representative Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker last week to win over the holdouts. McCarthy accepted their demands to form a committee to investigate the weaponization of the federal government, as reported by Politico. Milley has been accused of being a traitor by lawmakers and former President Donald Trump for actions near the end of his Trump presidency that were later revealed in Pearl, the book by journalists Bob Woodward and Robert Costa, referred the book that Milley secretly called his Chinese counterparts 2 times to reassure them that the U.S. would not launch an attack, as reported by CNBC. Milley, worried that Trump would go rogue, also called a secret meeting with senior officials to review nuclear launch procedures and asserted that he had to be involved in all orders, the book says. I'm sorry, but that's not the way it's supposed to work, General Milley. He told military leaders at the intelligence community to be on guard, efficiently overseeing the mobilization of American national security state without the knowledge of the American people or the rest of the world, according to the book. Politicians have claimed that Pelosi is at least partially responsible for the January 6th storming of the Capitol, alleging that she was briefed on the possible threat but ignored or withheld the information, leaving Capitol Police unprepared for it to take place. It was also requested by President Donald Trump that she activate the National Guard or have the governor of D.C. do so, and that was denied. Republicans in the House of Representatives will vote on a bill that would abolish the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, eliminate the national income debt, and replace it with a national consumption tax. Fox News Digital has learned that the House will be voting on Georgia Republican Representative Buddy Carter's reintroduction Fair Tax Act that aims to reel in the IRS and remove the national income tax, as well as other taxes, and replace them with a single consumption tax. The vote on the bill was made as part of the deal between House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and members of the House Freedom Caucus, and was pushed forward in his request for the gavel last week. So, do you see the trend here? As they were McCarthy was trying to go forward. He wasn't all in on these investigations, which is why they weren't wanting to vote for him. And then they made him sign an agreement that he would do these investigations if he became Speaker and would allow them to move forward. So what's that tell you about that traitor? Co-sponsoring this Georgia-made legislation was my first act as member of Congress, and it's finally the first bill I introduced in the 118th Congress, Carter said in a press release exclusively obtained by Fox News Digital. Instead of adding 87,000 new agents to weaponize the IRS against small business owners in middle America, this bill will eliminate the need for the department entirely by simplifying the tax code with provisions that work for the American people and encourage growth and innovation, Carter continued. Armed, unelected bureaucrats should not have the power over your paycheck that they do, he added. As a former small business owner, I understand the unnecessary burden of failing income tax system has on Americans, said Representative Jeff Duncan, Republican, South Carolina, in a statement. Fair Tax Act eliminates the tax code, replaces the income tax with a sales tax, and abolishes the abuse of the Internal Revenue Service. If enacted, this will be great for the American taxpayer and help more Americans achieve the American dream. I support the fair tax because it simplifies our tax code, said Representative Bob Good, Republican, Virginia, in a statement. This transforms the U.S. tax code from a mandatory, progressive, and convoluted system to fully transparent and unbiased system, which does away with the IRS as we know it. It is good for our economy because it encourages work, savings, and investment. Thank you to my colleagues, Representative Buddy Carter, for leading this effort to simplify this system for American taxpayers. I'm very proud to once again co-sponsor this bill. We've seen a continued growth of the IRS and a persistent punishment of hardworking Americans via the tax code. What we're calling for is a simplified and fair code that works for all, not just some. I urge my colleagues to support this common sense legislation that fights back against weaponization of the IRS and stops punishing those who work hard to succeed, he added. Specifically, the bill gets rid of the national, personal, and corporate income tax and abolishes the IRS altogether, which is slated, are you ready for this? to hire 87,000 new agents that will have police officer powers. That's right. The IRS not only will be able to go in and audit you, but put you in handcuffs and take you away as well. This is some Nazi Germany shit that the Democrats were cooking up for we the people. As well as it will implement a national sales tax. Additionally, the bill gets rid of the death, gift, and payroll taxes, and it would replace the current tax code with a national consumption tax. 11 co-signers signed on to the bill. I'm not going to bore you with who they all were, but you can look that up if you'd like to. The bill illustrates the hardline stance House Republicans are taking with the Biden administration and their policies, expanding the federal government, including the new funding for the 87,000 IRS police officers. And they just don't understand why we, the people, are so freaking upset with what they're doing. They just don't get it. It's like we're from another planet coming in to interfere with their actions. We just want to be treated equally. That's all conservatives and Republicans want out of this freaking government that has gone rogue. We want to be treated equally in all aspects of government, to include the FBI and the Department of Justice, who forgot the reason that Lady Justice wears a blindfold. You incompetent, no good, wasteful, un-American pieces of crap. That's what they are. It is absolutely unacceptable, the level of incompetence and territorial overpowering of one political party by them being weaponized by the other political party. And it must stop. And finally, we the people will be able to sit back and watch as this unfolds. Because what else has they put forward? Republicans are now going to bring C-SPAN back into the House investigations. The Democrats took away. So we will be able to watch all the investigations. We'll be able to watch all the people get up there and stutter and forget and I don't know and I forgot and the best of America listen and I don't know who told me that, or I plead the fifth. Yeah, we're going to get to watch all of that shit go down. Now, Arkansas, the state of Arkansas has done something that I fully support. I'm sure most Americans will as well, except for a few liberals. And I believe that all states should do the same. Hell, the federal government should be involved to make sure this goes out appropriately. Arkansas lawmakers introduced a new bill yesterday that classifies drag shows as an adult-oriented business under the state legal code, amending rules meant to keep minors away from such places. That's right. These guys that want to dress up as freaking circus clowns in their leotards and all their freaking rainbow colors and their makeup and their feathers and parade around like a bunch of little wimps, a bunch of little sissies performing sex acts or imitating sex acts at story time in libraries and schools that allow them in there in public places out in the streets in places like San Francisco and New York. That shit has to come to a stop. State Senate Bill 43, introduced by Republican State Senator Gary Stumperfield and State Representative Mary Bentley, aims to classify a drag performance as an adult-oriented business and to add additional location restrictions to an adult-oriented business, according to the legislation proposed language. The bill seeks to amend the state legal code for the adult-oriented business to add a drag performance to the list already included: an adult arcade, an adult bookstore or video store, an adult cabaret, an adult live entertainment establishment, an adult motion picture theater, an adult theater, a massage establishment that offers adult services, an escort agency, or a nude model studio. According to the proposed legislation, a drag performance exhibits a gender identity that is different from the performer's gender assigned at birth, using clothing, makeup, or other accessories that are traditionally worn by members of and are meant to exaggerate the gender identity of the performer's opposite sex, and sings, lip syncs, dances, or otherwise performs before an audience of at least two persons for entertainment, whether performed for payment or not, and that is intended to appeal to the pursuit of innocence. The bill would amend state code to say an adult-oriented business cannot be located on public property or where a minor can view what an adult-oriented business is, otherwise offering to the public that qualifies it as an adult-oriented business. Both chambers of the Arkansas state legislation have strong Republican minority. In 2021, Arkansas made headlines, surpassing the first ever kind of legislation in the nation banning drug or surgical intervention of minor patients who identify as transgender. The Save Adolescents from Experimentation Act, or SAFE Act, passed despite Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson's veto. Hutchinson said he opposed the bill, describing it as a vast government overreach. Clark reported Tuesday that a lawsuit filed in opposition to the law banning the so-called gender-affirming care is currently on trial before a judge. Regarding the bill on drag shows, Megan Turlock, director of the Northwest Arkansas Equality and Gay and Lesbian Organizations in Fayetteville, questioned whether the proposed legislation is just about keeping anybody with any kind of queerness away from kids. Turlock argued to KHBS that the bill's language could unconstitutionally limit free speech and impact outdoor LGBTQ events, including theater productions and pride parades, which, by the way, it is not intended to do. The vast majority of Americans, to include Republicans and conservatives, do not give two shits what anyone does behind closed doors as adults consenting. But we do care what you do out in public in front of our children, or what you do to our children when they're young, impressionable, and their minds have not been fully functioned yet. Yet, you're pushing transgender surgeries on them. That's child abuse, and it should be treated as such. By contrast, New York City's budget allocates funding for Drag Queen Story Hour, which organizes programs in public elementary, middle, and high schools. Parents have criticized the program for allowing underage children to participate in the programs during the school day, often without parental consent. The New York Post reported last June that records show more than $270,000 in taxpayer funding was spent since 2018 on the program, that's also expanded to public libraries. While some events include drag performers reading books to children and inappropriate content, which sometimes introduce transgenderism to underage kids, has been a topic of debate. Videos of other drag performances billed as family-friendly have shown performers dancing provocatively and making sexual innuendos while children were in the audience. You know, you take any of those acts, singly, one person, anywhere with one child or 10, you go to prison. You register as a sex offender. But if the drag queen community does it, it's okay, according to the liberals of this country. Now, I'm sure not all, but for the majority of them. You don't see the Democrats speaking up and against what our children are being exposed to. You see conservatives and Republicans doing it. And by doing so, we're attacked. We're called bigots, we're called racist, and a million other nasty names for standing our ground. So going back to my opening, Democrats, I've warned you. I've said it right here on this show time and time again. Be careful what you're doing, because it's going to come back and bite you in the ass, because the day will come the Republicans take back that House and have the investigation and subpoena powers given to them. And they will. All these things we've watched you do, investigate. And that is going down. And then the time will also come that we will have back the Senate. And the time will also come that we will have back 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But it's up to we, the people, to hold them accountable and make damn sure they do the investigations into corrupt and illegal actions by all, not just Democrats, but Republicans too. If we send you to Washington, D.C. to work for we, the people, and you're up there fucking off and taking our money to do your own agenda in your own little private freaking game, then you need to be called out on it. Because that's not what you were sent there for. I'm 100% behind term limits. There is no reason why we should allow members of Congress, the House or Senate, to stay there indefinitely. Should not happen. And that would be a very good start in eliminating some of the absolute craziness that we as Americans are experiencing. I get text messages and emails and letters from people all across the country and all across the globe, for that matter. People in other countries going, Doug, what in the hell are you guys doing over there? How is this being allowed? Do you not know what we went through? Does history not show you guys what our country went through and where we're at today because of it? Because nobody stood up? Well, that's what's happening here in America, my friends. And I'll respond to them just saying, look, you're right. It's a freaking clown show on steroids. And there are some of us that actually give a shit and speak out against it. And we're attacked for it. We're chastised for it. I got thick skin. Now, when they go after my family, I draw the line. I don't go after your family. Leave mine out of it. You don't like me, you don't like what I report on, then freaking say so. Prove me wrong. But when you start going after an individual's family, that shit will get you hurt. And in future incidences, that is exactly what has happened. And there's no reason for violence to have to be perpetrated against anyone for any reason, unless it's in self-defense or you're trying to hurt another man's family. That shit's not okay. And that type of behavior is what conservatives and Republicans have been fighting against for a long, long time. If you don't have anything to counter what we're putting out, then don't go to name calling and being a horrible, bigoted person. Just go away quietly if you can't counter it with your facts, because there's only one set of facts. There isn't two. They know it. And when they lose the battle with facts, then they resort to going after your character and assassinating your beliefs and morals with absolute stupidity and things that, sadly, our Constitution allows them to do. I can't tell you how many times I've had law enforcement involved with things that I felt, as a former law enforcement officer, I felt was definitely a crime. But because of today's new norm, it wasn't. It was covered under freedom of speech. But yet, if I did the same thing with this platform, you bet your ass they wouldn't look at it that way. So I'll walk a thin line on what I say and how I say it. But I've got the balls to stand up and say what's wrong is wrong, and it needs to be stopped. And damn it, I will go to my grave doing everything I can to continue to support American patriots that want a safe and secure country, not only for our remaining time on this planet, but for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to come. We want an America that everyone can be proud of, that does away with all the incoherent, stupid, un-American, babbling bullshit. And I'll leave you with one last thing that I'm pushing very hard for my members of Congress. And I hope you do the same thing with your members of Congress. You write letters, you go on their social media accounts, you go to their town hall meetings, and you demand that they look at current President Joe Biden for his treasonous acts. What he did in that Afghanistan withdrawal is treason. He left behind on purpose, did not give the military the time they needed to remove the equipment that was there. Billions of dollars of military equipment that they claimed, the administration, was actually destroyed. And of course, we have found out from those that were on the ground there that only a very small percentage was destroyed. The rest of it ended up in the hands of our enemy that want us dead, back on the battlefield to be used against us at a later date. And some of it is being used against us and being sold to other terrorist organizations to do bad things to us and our allies. That is treason. There's no other word for it. That is treason, and it should be treated as such. Look it up. Look up the definition of treason. And Joe Biden committed that. Not only did Joe Biden commit treason, but so did Barack Hussein Obama when he traded 5 known terrorists that were captured on a battlefield killing American service members for one American traitor, Sergeant Bardog. That's right. That too was a treasonous act of aiding and abetting the enemy of the United States of America. So please reach out to your members of Congress and to your senators and request that they investigate Joe Biden for treason on what happened in Afghanistan. Folks, you had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me as we kick off the Douglas Ducote Show for the 2023 year. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. If you haven't already done so, please go check out DouglasDucote.com. Also, my other YouTube channel, which is Charlie Hotel 47. Go there, subscribe, check out the videos. It's personal things that I've experienced in my life, whether it's military combat operations or aviation-related stuff or history-related things and places I've been fortunate enough to visit across the country and across the globe that I put there and share. It's not political. It's about our history. And I hope that you will share that with the youth of this country so they can see, and not only them, but for you, if you're not capable of doing what I've been able to go and see or go to these different places, these different museums across the country and across the globe, be it financial reasons or for whatever reason, maybe it's health reasons. Maybe you just haven't had the opportunity because you work a lot. But this gives you the ability to go there and see that and see what I witnessed and what I saw. And I will continue to do that and update that YouTube channel as we go along. There's many other places across the globe that I plan on visiting and sharing with all of you on that channel. Charlie Hotel 47, check it out. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. And a shout out to those that moderate this show. Thank you. You're doing an outstanding job, and I sure do appreciate each of you. God bless everyone, and I'll see you Thursday night.